Welcome to Adventist Voices, Spectrum's podcast. I'm Alexander Carpenter, and I'm honored to be joined by Dr. Edwin Hernández, who is the president of Antillean Adventist University. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, Alexander, to be part of an important ministry, and I'm just excited to be part of your community.
Well, you definitely are. Thank you for your support of Spectrum, long time. And also, you've contributed some really important articles on demographics in the journal with Roger Dudley. Also, we're here to talk about the great news. The Lilly Foundation provided a grant to Antillean Adventist University, and I know you have a long time history with Adventist institutions and also granting institutions, part of Loma Linda, La Sierra, Andrews University, Notre Dame, the Louisville Institute, among many. And I wanted to hear what your vision is for this incredible opportunity to tell an Adventist story for a wider audience.
No, thank you for the opportunity to share with your audience. So the great news is that Antillean Adventist University was notified at the end of last year in December that we were awarded a $5 million grant as part of the Lilly Endowment's National Storytelling Initiative.
5 million. I want to underline that. Congratulations.
5 million over 5 years. It's a signature transformative gift to the university. We're excited about it because it positions the institution, not just in Puerto Rico, but also in the US and the state of Florida, particularly, to be a storytelling institution of the way in which God impacts the lives of young people. So let me tell a little bit of the backstory.
Please.
If the Lilly Endowment put out a national competition last spring, interested in developing, right, this national storytelling initiative. Initially, we submitted our concept document. 1,300 institutions submitted concept documents, proposals for the concept. Ours was titled Enduring Faith During Life Storms. As you can imagine, talking about enduring faith during life storms.
Yeah, I feel like Puerto Rico has had a storm recently that made the news.
We over the last 8 or 9 years, there's been two major storms, earthquakes, and our campus has suffered a number of these direct hits and infrastructure damages. So Lilly Endowment's purpose is really to spark the creative class of Christendom to identify stories, compelling stories that will lead people to know and love God. And doing that in three important goals: identifying stories of individuals, of congregations, of communities; two, documenting those stories by way of video, documentary, podcasts, feature articles, storytelling, etc. And then third, by sharing those in social media. Basically, it's an evangelistic effort to spread the good news of what God is doing. The Lilly Endowment is very concerned about the fact that you hear a lot of negative news about Christianity declining, especially among certain groups. And so their interest is to identify where are the pockets of Christian flourishing, where there's opportunities to tell significant stories that will inspire people. So back in the spring, we brought a team together. We have a great media team. We have graduates of ours that are part of a network of storytellers, filmmakers, producers. And we extended an invitation also in the state of Florida, the Florida Conference, and other congregations to join us. And because Puerto Rico, over the last 8 years, has experienced an exit to the state of Florida, we wanted to include the Florida experience as part of this effort. So This, I must tell you that when we received the news about this grant, by the way, it was very competitive. 1,300 institutions applied, only 50 received the initial planning grant that then made them eligible for the larger grant of 5 million. So we were in a very exclusive elite group of institutions, and
Congratulations.
I owe that to a great team that was brought together. Of course, God's blessing. You always need to recognize that, but it's a humbling experience. So right now, the first year is basically establishing the systems, our infrastructure, organizing the teams, setting up our various channels of communications, also strengthening our website infrastructure. So a lot of things are occurring during this first year, but clearly it's an opportunity both to tell the gospel in a relevant, accessible, attractive way, but at the same time also to tell the Antillean story, the story of a resilient community of faith, academic institution of 65 years, which we celebrate this year.
Congrats.
And so it's a unique opportunity, really. It's transformative, and I'm just really excited and very proud of our team, led by Dr. Lorel Valera, and a group of other collaborators, Juan Martinez from Florida. So we have a Florida team, we have a Puerto Rico Antillean team, and together we're going to spread the good news and also invite others. We're inviting others from evangelical communities, the Catholic tradition. We're wanting to be the facilitators for storytelling across the Puerto Rican faith community. So we're excited about what's happening on our campus and where we're headed.
Well, I feel like this could be inspiring for Adventists all over because it's an example of an institution that's not sort of trying to hide its light under a bushel, but rather you're out there really recognizing that you can compete in the larger world of faith because you have a strong identity. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to talk a little bit about the kind of culture on campus. What kind of students do you attract? What kind of faculty do you attract? What's the mission of Antillean?
Yeah, no, thank you. As I said, Antillean celebrates 65 years of having been established. It first initiated in Cuba. And it's interesting that Antillean has a connection to Union University now, Union College back
Oh,
then.
yeah.
They sponsored the Antillean back when it was located in the island of Cuba. Around the revolution, then church leaders decided to bring Antillean to Puerto Rico and merge it with a growing institution here, and then became Antillean Adventist University, Universidad Adventista de las Antillas. So our mission really is to promote a holistic formation of competent professionals committed to the service of God and humanity. And we attract a broad group of young people. They pretty much about 50% of our students are Seventh-day Adventists, claim our Seventh-day Adventist faith and identity. And the other 50% approximately are the largest group is non-denom, evangelical, with another about 25% Roman Catholic. We attract young people and whose families are interested in a faith-based institution. We attract a large number of young people from the States interested in coming to the Caribbean, to experience the Caribbean, to learn Spanish, but also to get a very affordable education compared to private education in the States. So we are about, on average, we've been averaging about 900 students over the last couple of years.
It's bigger than some of the union schools in the North American Division territory.
And we are part of Inter-American Division, of course, one of 13 institutions of higher education in Inter-America. The biggest names, of course, Montemorelos, but there's universities in Southern Caribbean and Haiti, Dominican Republic, etc., Colombia, around the Inter-American Division. But Antillean, It's a U.S. institution, meaning we're U.S. accredited by middle states. All of our professional programs, like nursing, are accredited by the U.S. accreditation. So we are a North American school in an inter-American context.
Nice.
And a large number of our students discover the Antillean experience. They get Pell Grants. They get all the federal funding opportunities that graduate students or undergraduate students would receive. So it's a great. We like to think of it as we're a great equalizer, meaning that we address the issue of affordability head on by saying to young people, experience the Puerto Rico Antillean experience and be educated, receive a private Christian education at an affordable price.
Yeah. I'm sort of rethinking my undergraduate choices now. Tell me why you decided to go there. You've had an incredible career within Adventist education and beyond it. A leader, president of AdventHealth University recently, and what drew you to this calling?
Yeah, no, thank you. I am from the island of Puerto Rico. My parents both were born here. I was born in Glendale, California, by the way, in
Me
Glendale
too,
Hospital.
actually. I'm right near, about a block away from the hospital.
Yeah, my dad and mom, they were, my dad was a pastor, associate pastor of the Spanish American Church there in LA back in the early 60s. And I was born there. Came to Puerto Rico when I was 2 years old. I grew up here. So I, Puerto Rican by identity, by cultural affinity, my parents, and I grew up here till I was 16 years old. And then later I went to Mount Pisgah Academy where I finished my junior and senior years and then went off to La Sierra. But my being here is a very special it's a great story of calling from my sense of giving back to a community that nurtured my faith when I was early teens and a young person. Also by family responsibility. My wife and I are living with our 96-year-old father-in-law, and he's an extraordinary human being, retired pastor, very active in his church, preaching, Bible studies, baptizing, driving people to church, calling people. And he's an example of resilience, of faith, of determination, clear-minded, and just a real inspiration. So there's two very strong reasons, right? The one is good family reasons to be with the person that we love and care for, Pastor Mike Rivera, and also because Antillean at this particular moment, there was an interim president, Dr. Myrna Colon, and she and the board in that moment when, as interim leader, and reached out to me, and one thing led to another. And I just feel honored, really, to be leading Antillean, to be of service, to support the team and the rest of the faculty. We have 35 full-time faculty members. We offer undergrad and graduate programs. Our graduate programs are in nursing education and in business, an MBA. And we have an additional other 40 adjunct professors and so forth. So Antillean at this moment, like many of our other sister schools, has experienced the ebb and flow and the challenges of higher education, which, as you know, are significant. But we're facing them straight on with faith, resilience, and optimism, and with a very aggressive vision for the future.
Well, thanks for sharing that personal and institutional history there. I would like to, with the remaining time, talk a little bit about institutions. You've been a part of those, and I would love to hear your reflection both as a scholar, as you've thought about identity and Adventism and beyond, and then how you think about that in your roles as you're leading institutions. You're not only studying, but you're making decisions about an institutional identity that is Adventist, but You mentioned La Sierra University, and I was just there recently, and they have a similar split in their student population, about half Adventist and then half not Adventist now. And if Adventist institutions are going to not only survive, but really make a difference in their communities, they're going to have to think outside of the normal denominational box. So I'd love to hear how you think about these things.
No, thank you. Well, first of all, I think that at Antillean, we take our mission very seriously. We're bullish about our faith, our identity as a Christian institution. It's a very dense, spiritually dense organization and culture where prayer and Bible studies and baptisms occur on a regular basis. We have 6 week of prayers on our campus. They're not all week of prayers, but we have major events to ignite spiritual renewal. So, in that sense, I think that all of us need to be bullish and creative about who we are and to be proud of who we are and never be in any way neglect or regret the identity and what we as Christians can contribute to the larger culture. At the same time, we are clear that the future necessitates a new way of thinking about how we do our work. And by that I mean we have to collaborate with others. We have to join hands with sister institutions, other businesses, corporations in our midst, that we need to seek funding outside of our spheres of influence, that we need to rethink about our curriculum, both in terms of the regular traditional route, but also the non-traditional, the working adult, those that are looking for short-term credentials in the workforce, stackable degrees, etc. I think this moment calls for a whole revolution of how we think about higher ed, literally. One of the things that I regret or lament really about is our inability to collaborate more and our
Hmm.
inability to join forces. Each of us are replicating systems. Each of us pays hundreds, thousands of dollars for different types of tools and technologies. We are separated geographically, but we should be united in purpose and in our ability to join forces. And so I am more and more convinced that Adventist institutions of higher learning are in for a big renewal or surprise, because as I look at the landscape of higher education, institutions are closing, and the ones that are closing are the small liberal arts and faith-based institutions. And so I'm concerned about that. And so this moment, I think, calls for leaders and board of trustees and church leaders to rethink how we do higher ed in North America, and I would say the same thing in Inter-America. And so what we're doing here at Antillean is we're working with the unions to create a K-16 system whereby young people that are in high school can almost complete an associate's degree by the time they finish their high school to add value to our high school systems. I think we're also exploring being part of larger systems, whether they're Adventists or not, to provide technical support and also to advance our aggressive growth patterns. Also, to land for us at Antillean, we want to be bilingual. We want to teach in both languages. We want to say that let the students select the language of instruction,
Hmm.
obviously English and Spanish, but we want bilingualism to be part of who we are, to teach both in both languages so that we can move beyond the boundaries of our small 100 by 35 island. And so that's what we're aiming to do. We're excited about that future. And this grant, of course, enables us to brand ourselves more broadly in the island and outside of the island. But more importantly, is really to double down on who we are as a Christian institution and be known as a storytelling hub for the island. Our project calls to do a major national study of religious portrait of what the island looks like religiously. So we're excited about that because it'll enable us to published in the major newspapers of the island. And
Mm.
so that's where, but back to the question that you asked about institutions. There's a lot of us that are fragile. I think all of us should admit, as institutions of higher education, that there's fragility.
Yeah.
And in the context of fragility, it calls for courageous leadership, visionary leadership. It calls for risk-taking. It calls for collaborating and finding ways to look outside of ourselves, to find ways in which we can partner with others and continue the strong legacy of Adventist higher education.
Well, I find myself inspired by your commitment to thinking about Adventist education in very traditional ways. You mentioned Week of Prayers and the kind of spiritual experience that we expect on an Adventist campus, but there's a lot of innovation that is parallel to that, and also a kind of open hand to your local community, and even perhaps the hardest thing, an open hand to other Adventist institutions to really think in ways that could be strengthening for all parties involved. You mentioned storytelling, and Puerto Rico has been in the American story recently. I'm talking about the Super Bowl halftime show and a great event, also known as the Benito Bowl, where Bad Bunny really showcased Puerto Rican culture, heritage, identity in ways that were polarizing for some and inspiring for many, many more. One of the parts of it that I found really fascinating, I was reading an article about it, and I remembered while I was watching it live, they had people on power lines as part of this really beautiful, wholesome demonstration of love and marriage and family and joy and dancing and food. But also he was aware of the history and the story that you're thinking about with the Hurricane Maria and other
Right.
sort of man-made disasters where there's not the infrastructure and the support that you need from the U.S. government. Did you enjoy the Benito Bowl?
Oh, it's interesting. Well, yes, all of us, I think every single Puerto Rican household, including on campus, were glued. I think that, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a consumer of reggaeton, nor I have been a follower of Bad Bunny, right, of his music in a personal sense. But I'm a sociologist, I'm a pastor, I'm also a president of university. So I pay close attention about, who's shaping identity, the imagination, the public discourse. The way that I evaluate, and of course, many people have opinions and various pieces, but I think about it as a both and lens, right? On the one hand, Christianity always insists for us to be morally discerning individuals and to also critique our cultures. And, there are aspects of Bad Bunny's work, of course, whose language and sometimes sexualization and at times have been, misogynistic in patterns. And those things, of course, you have to critique and understand. And there's a particular point of view of the Christian faith that looks at that and says, we don't have to replicate that or we condone it. On the other hand, I would be dishonest, if I wouldn't tell you that if we look at it and ignore the positive cultural impact contributions, his last album, Debí haber tomado más fotos, right, was a celebration of Puerto Rican culture, of its music, of its rhythms. And it dignified the Spanish language. I mean, imagine who would have thought that in the history of the Super Bowl or in the history of popular culture, the number one artist in the world who has experienced the most downloaded of Spotify, whatever other metrics, it's all in Spanish. And from China to Europe, everybody is singing along when they don't understand the words. And so it's a phenomena, right, that at the end of the day is important. And the global stage and the challenges so that show in 13 minutes, there were a lot of important lessons. And I think that are worth understanding. I mean, you mentioned the electrical poles, right? Referencing the situation after Maria, the flag that Benito was, raising, the blue color is, it represents a more independent symbol. The piraguas, the ladies that were building the blocks, the women, signifying the power of women as the primary caretakers and the builders of our communities. The ladies that were doing the nails. I mean, there were so many elements or the trophy being given to another, his own younger self, right? That exemplified that everybody has a dream. And when Benito is talking directly to the camera and saying, you can believe in your dreams and you could make it too, within a context where there's a lot of demonization, there's a lot of dehumanizing going on with immigrants across our country. It was a moment in which everybody's valuable. And when he was saying that we're all in this together, it's really the essential message, I think, that why it gripped and why it was so powerful, that all diversity is valuable, that everyone has a place in our country, and that every voice should be heard and respected. And at the end of the day, wasn't that beautiful at the end when this message was blossomed there? And the only thing more powerful than hate is love.
Mm-hmm.
To have that exemplified in a wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
So I look at it from both lenses. I hope and pray that his influence will be positive, where the message of hope and identity and culture and affinity. So yes, Alexander, every TV station in Puerto Rico, I'm proud of that. I don't know when you last visited Puerto Rico, Alexander. There's a special little animal called el coquí, and this special little frog sings at night. And this little frog is only found here in the island. And to me, it's a symbol of how in the darkest of moments, in the most difficult of life situations that we're confronting as a nation, as individuals, or as a community, there is always a song in the night, the coquí, that brings hope, brings reassurance, the life eternal, that those who have hope and resilience will find life and meaning and purpose. And so, Alexander, Bad Bunny, the coquí, and to me are symbols of affirmation and hope for the future.
Well, that was beautiful. I always appreciate hearing your thoughts on these sociological and cultural and religious issues. Thank you so much for talking with us today, and I wish you the best in your ministry there at Antillean in Adventism and around our global human family.
Thank you. Thanks for your ministry and appreciate the opportunity.